So you just got done watching the fights. The kids are asleep. The wife's in the other room doing, well, what wives do.
Am I the only one that does this goddamn thing around here? How hard is it to pick up after yourself?
So decision time. You could either go in the other room and deal with...
After all I've done today, you expect me to wanna...
or keep it locked right here, because it's time for the Billy C post-fight wrap-up on the BillyCBoxing.com network. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Billy C.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C studio in Lake George, New York. It's time for Billy C's Timothy Bradley, Jessie Vargas post-fight show. The fight just ended, I guess with some controversy. I don't know. I mean, I thought that it was a pretty easy fight to score. I disagreed with Harold. Normally my scorecard's the same. I basically gave every round to Timothy Bradley except for the last round. And I didn't give him the second round. I thought was I thought the third round was close, but personally, I thought that Timothy Bradley pretty much owned the fight. He was throwing more punches. I thought he was landing more punches. I don't know where. 115, 112 came from for Kenny Bayless, who's, you thought he only made the funny eyes and moves when he was in the ring as a referee. He does the same thing as a judge, apparently. But anyway, phone lines are open. Get your thoughts, 845-228-8710. Timothy Bradley, if you're just tuning in, he improves to 32 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, with 12 of his wins coming by knockout. Jessie Vargas loses really for the first time in his career. He's now 26-1 with 9 knockouts. And I guess there was an interim title on the line as well. So that's in Timothy Bradley's hands right now. Pat Russell, the referee, I thought he did a good job, except for the end there. And I just want to know where people get off by saying a 10-8 round. That I don't get. I don't understand a 10-8 round. There was no knockdown in that last round. I don't get it. I don't get it. Hey. That's me. And even Harold said, "Oh yeah, I scored that last round, 10-8." I don't get it. I don't understand why. What's your thoughts? 845-228-8710. In the first fight, which was HBO's 1000th fight, in case you didn't miss it, which incidentally I thought that pre-fight stuff was really cool. All the shots of those great fights that we've had since 73. Nice stuff, huh? It was nice to watch. But nonetheless, in the opening fight, Oscar Valdez remains undefeated. He's now 16-0. He beat Ruben Tamayo in what I thought was an entertaining fight. And it also shows you that Oscar Valdez, when he stepped up a little bit with competition, he didn't take him out of there. Not that he wasn't trying, because he definitely was. But anyway, I thought both fights were entertaining. I thought both guys, the right guys, won the fight. On the line right now, my man Alex Papali. What'd you think, brother?
Hey, Billy C. I thought Bradley was doing wonderfully until that last round. I thought he was winning by a pretty wide margin, wider than they thought. But I gave Vargas 1 round, and I had another round even. But I think it's because of they're so enamored with the punch stat. there was a few rounds where, the numbers made it look closer than it was. Vargas was in it a couple of rounds, but then, once we got, I think he had his best moment. What was the round I gave him? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I gave him the fifth, and even that was a close round. But then, he never won a round again until he won the last round. But I definitely think, you got to give it to him 10-8. 10-8 that final round.
Yeah, but why do you give him 10?
Because of the severity of how hurt he was.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. If everyone did that, that's great. But not everyone does. It's like it's like in the other fight.
Well, my card's not official anyway.
No, I know, but it's like in the other fight. Okay, so you got to score 10-8 round because he went down, and theoretically, that could have been an even round because Valdez was winning that fight, winning that round easily, right? And he goes down, and even Harold scored a 10-8. So I don't know. Timothy Bradley was hurt; he was holding on, but he didn't go down. So I don't know. I mean, listen.
I don't know, Bill. I mean, I think because of the severity, he was so badly hurt. I mean, that's why Russell saved him. I mean, that's the whole argument that Vargas has is that, he was that close to being knocked out. So I definitely think and the whole idea of a 10-8 round can be if you can give a 10-8 round if a guy is it's lopsided. And that was definitely a lopsided round in terms of who hurt who more. But I do think that it was just a mistake on Pat Russell's part. I think if the fight did continue, Bradley would have grabbed him again. I don't think he would have landed. It was very similar to Sergio Martinez and what's his name, Baby Chavez.
No, that's my point. I agree. He didn't go down. He was holding on. He clearly was in trouble. There's no doubt about that. But I mean, are we scoring fights 10-8 when a fighter's in trouble? Listen. I guess it's the matter of opinion on who scores what. My point is with the judges. I had it probably closer to what you had. I scored at 118-110 in favor of Timothy Bradley. I just didn't think that, although some of the rounds, like you said, were close, and I just thought that Bradley at the end of the round, I just think that he landed the more significant punches to make me give him the rounds. But there were several close rounds that I was thinking could have gone either way, depending upon the referees. The judge's view.
Yeah. Well, I think. See, to me, that was one of the things that I think Andre Ward, a point that he made that I definitely agreed with, and one of the things that I think was sort of it falls under the category of like ring, sort of both overlaps a little into ring generalship and effective aggressiveness, in the sense that what Bradley does, he sort of brings this sense that he's asserting himself, not just his punches. He's coming at you, throwing with both hands. That's one of the things I love about him. Is he throws a left and a right behind it. It'll be a left, right, left that he throws. He doesn't throw one punch at a time. He keeps grinding forward, pressuring you, imposing his will upon you, both with his hands and his feet in how he crowds you. That I give him credit for that. He's forcing the fight in that sense. And that's what eventually Vargas was doing, and eventually that's what paid off, was on his way in, when he rushes in like that, sometimes he swallows a right hand. I mean, that's one of the things where I was surprised that, boy, he seems to swell up on that right side, on that, because, well, he's eating punches when he's coming in because he's making the fight. It is a contact sport, after all. But, yeah, that's the risk. I think if they did have a rematch, and I certainly don't think it merits one, because, like you said, I think it was kind of lopsided, other than that last moment there, and Pat Russell's screw-up. But I do think that Bradley was winning convincingly.
Yeah, and Jessie Vargas, he fought exactly like Jessie Vargas always fights. That's like the same fight he fights. Never throws enough punches. It doesn't matter who's in his corner. And as you heard, he had 5 trainers in 7 years. That's a guy changing trainers a lot. I mean, I don't care how good Eric Morales could be as a trainer. He didn't make an impact in less than a month, and that's how long he's been with the kid.
Yeah, and I think it's that's too quick to really make much of an impact. You need a little more time to gel with a new trainer. But I do think that he definitely gave a good effort, and like I said, I don't think that had Pat Russell not intervened like that. And again, I tweeted something about this, and maybe this is an ageist thing to say, but boxing is about reflexes, and it was an error and something that anyone could make. But these guys get old, and he misheard the warning, the 10-second warning. He thought it was the bell. Is that something is he starting to miss things more often as he gets older? I don't know. I mean, I hate to say that, but the fighters, boxing requires reflexes, both on the parts of the fighters and the refs. And if that's something that has to be looked at, maybe, is this a pattern with Pat Russell? Because in a way, it did rob Vargas of those last couple of moments, even though I don't think it would have been significant.
Listen, you young whippersnapper, you leave this man alone. He's just a baby.
I know, and I turned 45 Wednesday, so believe me, I'm sensitive to it.
Oh man, you should have mentioned it. We would have sung happy birthday for you on your day. You were here. You were doing your thing. But hey, listen, he heard. I don't know what he heard, because there was 4 seconds left. The 10-second warning had sounded. It sounded in the middle of Jessie Vargas chasing him around the ring after he stunned him with that shot. So there was 4 seconds officially left by the time Pat Russell said the fight's over. So you're right. I don't know what bell he was listening, but it's also good that they made a definitive answer. Hey, this round ended a little early. Our referee is hearing and seeing things. Thank God they didn't say, sorry, we had to replace one of the judges. They were seeing things in there. I mean, come on. But how about Kenny Bayless? Did you notice him with the facial expressions, just like he is when he's a ref? Did you catch that?
I didn't notice the expressions, but I did see him there, and I was like, wow, is that Kenny Bayless?
Yeah.
I didn't. It's funny because he was right there in Canastota, and I wish that was something that he had mentioned that he was going to start judging. He didn't.
Yeah, well, he makes the same funny expressions, looking at the fight. I guess that's just his way of getting into it. But so you support the 10-8? I disagree with you on that, but we both agree that Timothy Bradley won the fight. I mean, they're talking rematch, because it wasn't controversial. I'm sorry, even if you go by the judges' scorecards, not with the exception of Kenny Bayless, they're not even close. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it warrants a rematch, and I think that unfortunately, I think that's one of the things that, like, we talk about a lot now because of the landscape of the sport. A rematch might be something we have to settle for, only because what other options are there at welterweight for a guy like this? And I think, Bradley proves every time out, and I hope this doesn't overshadow it, the controversy, because I don't think it's a huge controversy. I think it was Russell admitted he kind of screwed up without saying it. Nowadays nobody in any sort of authority admits they screwed up. But he definitely did say, I heard what I heard at the 10-second warning. I thought was the bell. So
yeah.
That's
he says, "I
wrong.
thought I heard the bell. Sorry.
Yeah.
Where's
so
my? Who do I go
to?
He said, I thought I heard the bell. Sorry. Who do I go to get my check again?
Right. Well, and in if you're Vargas's camp, I would fight like hell that we got screwed But you know how far that goes.
Yeah, but that's my whole point. What do you argue? You argue that you had 4 seconds left on the clock.
Right.
You argue that you had your guy in trouble, but he still hadn't gone down once yet. So, and remember, this was the 12th round. So even if he falls, he still has an opportunity to get up. Like you said before, listen, this fight was going to end, whether Timothy Bradley hit the deck or not, it was going to end after that round, and Timothy Bradley was not going to get knocked out. It was not going to. I don't have a crystal ball, and I don't know if he would have landed another shot that would have knocked out Timothy Bradley cold. But that's what it would have had to take. It would have had to have taken him to knock him out for a 10 count. And we've seen Timothy Bradley get in all kinds of trouble and pull his ass up, and just to survive 4 seconds. Listen, it's possible, but it was definitely not likely.
I agree. I don't think it's likely at all. But again, if you're in his camp, I certainly would argue it till the cows came home.
Oh yeah, because
Max was giving him a little bit, and that's what I mean. That they're all sort of in on it because whatever they might have to sell Bradley Vargas too, only because we're never going to see Bradley Mayweather. And let's face it, that would be interesting. One of the things, Bill, that I thought was fascinating that I heard that in the broadcast, when they were 14 or 15-year-olds, he fought Andre Ward. And listen to the way Andre Ward talked about fighting Tim Bradley. Look at Bradley's record. He has fights over some of the best guys in multiple divisions, all the way up to, the current, one of the great super middleweights, even though, his last fight was a stinker. He beat Miguel Vasquez, one of the top guys at lightweight. He is a true pound-for-pound guy. It would be interesting to see him against Mayweather, but that fight is unlikely to ever happen because of the promotional connections and network connections.
Yeah, plus he's too dangerous.
He's too dangerous.
Right. He's too dangerous for Floyd. And I don't mean that I don't think Floyd couldn't beat him, because I think he could, but he poses a little bit of danger, and Floyd's not going to fight anybody like that. I mean, come on. He's not going to fight anybody that's dangerous. Yeah. I mean, Pacquiao is dangerous. He had to fight him. But, I mean, come on. But anyway, Alex, I appreciate the phone call, my man.
All right, Billy C, take care.
All right. That's Alex Papal. You can catch him on Wednesday. I wish I would have known it was his birthday, but phone line is open. What's your thoughts of the fight? 845-228-8710. Timothy Bradley coming out victorious over Jessie Vargas on HBO. The fight just ended a few moments ago, about 15, I guess, now. But I guess some kind of controversy. We had Jessie Vargas not doing much for the fight. Landing, it was definitely a devastating shot in the 12th round, right towards the end. Put Timothy Bradley in all kinds of trouble. He clearly was in trouble. There's no doubt about that. But then the miscalculation of the time, and the referee prematurely stopped the fight 4 seconds prior to its official stoppage. At first, Jessie Vargas thought he won the fight by knockout, and Alex believes that it should have been a 10-8 round. Harold Letterman says it should have been a 10-8 round. Not me. I'm not saying that it wasn't a one-sided round, and I'm not saying that Jessie Vargas had Timothy Bradley in all kinds of trouble, because he certainly did. But Bradley never went down. And Bradley had the wherewithal to hold on, was tying him up. He was doing what veteran fighters do when they get hurt, when they get buzzed, when they're in trouble like that. And like I said earlier, we've seen Timothy Bradley get in trouble. Timothy Bradley's hit the deck before, and he gets up and he survives. Did anybody think, what was the fight? The first time I saw him get knocked down, I didn't think he was ever going to get up, and he pulled himself up and survived the fight, so... listen, a 10-8 round, if it's a dominating round for a fighter where they're beating them from one end of the ring to the other for 3 minutes, you want to score a 10-8, I got no problem with that. Knockdown, I got no problem with that. But a fight that last round, I mean, it wasn't a dominating round for Vargas until that punch. So you're going to give him a 10-8 round for one punch that didn't put the opponent down? I don't know. I gave him the round. I gave him the round because of the punch. I thought the punch was made a difference for him to win the round. I don't think it was a dominating win until the punch, so I scored it 10-9, but that's me, so we got Dax on the line. What's up, man? What'd you think?
Other than what the outcome was, you were right on Thursday. But other than that, everything I said was pretty much on point. Timothy Bradley, showed tonight there's a guy in there who has lost his identity. He is not a power puncher, regardless of what he believes, regardless of what he says. He's not a power puncher. What I found the funniest in that fight was the first meaningful shot that Jessie Vargas landed, and I believe it was the third, was to the body. And that was the first time he had Timothy Bradley backing up. And meanwhile, before the fight actually happened, Timothy was talking about how he's changed his diet. He felt he was lacking protein, and how the medicine ball has helped him because. And he's right. No matter how many sit-ups you do or crunches, unless you're actually used to absorbing shots to the body, you're not going to be able to. So it kind of that makes you wonder right there. Exactly what's he doing in his camp that isn't quite as right as what it used to be in the past. Now, also what you notice in that fight is several times when Tim Bradley was caught by shots, he was stunned a little bit, and they weren't hard shots, and I'm not saying stunned where he was about to go down, but they paused him in his tracks, a couple times, he kind of, his head snapped back, and he gave that smile and that nod that fighters give, saying, yeah, you caught me with one, and they weren't really that good shots. And when Jessie Vargas did let his hands go, Tim just kind of put his hands up and just stood there and froze when he should have been firing right back, and he didn't. And now the announce team is going to sit there and say, oh, he took that round off, that's what he wanted him to do. I'm sorry, no fighter wants to let another fighter sit there and hit him. That's not how it goes. We all know that. Jessie Vargas just did not do enough in this fight. Timothy Bradley definitely won without question. As far as the ending goes, Bill, I'm not going to sit there and dispute, the winner at all. And I am totally in agreement that, I don't think Jessie Vargas was going to stop him at all. But on the other hand, I did score the 10-8 rounds. We have seen guys in the past, even though, it's not official, how you're not supposed to score it officially, people have said in the past, you know what, I'll have that on my card as a 10-8 round. When a fighter gets dominated for a round, we've all, scored it as a 10-8 round. Considering how hurt Timothy Bradley was, I would give that a 10-8 round, just like Alex did. One thing I will say, I don't like Timothy Bradley's new attitude. He's definitely become annoying. I'm kind of thinking like Chatty Factory here. You know what? You're annoying, Tim. Shut up. Andre Ward, I don't usually agree with him too much, but I agreed with him tonight when he said, matter of fact, I just sent that out on our social media tweet, on our Talking Boxing account, and I said, Timothy Bradley needs to fight like Timothy Bradley used to, and Andre Ward says it right afterwards, not that he's seen the tweet, and, instead of these wild swings, if you watch in close when they did exchange and Jessie Vargas was willing to exchange, he got the better of those shots. Tim was swinging wild. There is not a guy in the top 10, with maybe the exception of a Brandon Rios or Diego Chavez, that I really think that Timothy Bradley beats. I think Amir Khan outspeeds him. I think Marcos Maidana, if he tried to go to war with him, Marcos Maidana would knock him out. Keith Thurman has an easy time with him. Kell Brook would get rid of him inside of 3 rounds. And just Timothy Bradley, he's done as an elite fighter. I was not impressed by anything he did tonight. I was less impressed by what Jessie Vargas did in there. And Timothy Bradley needs to go refocus. He needs to maybe drop down in weight, or he just needs to go away. And where, you know what, he needs to seek some medical treatment because Ruslan Provodkanov rattled his brain more than anybody ever expected. He still insists that he's going to go in there if Triple G is willing to accept the challenge and face him at 160 pounds. All that is doing is Timothy Bradley asking for an enormous medical bill and to be carried from the ring on a stretcher.
I applaud him for saying that he's willing to do it. You know, I mean, there's not many fighters that do. That, you know, in today's generation of fighter, we seemingly have guys that just pick fights that they have a 90% chance of winning, you know, and they go through the motions and they pound their chest like they beat King Kong. I applaud Timothy Bradley, whether he's wild or not, and I don't dispute that. He definitely was throwing punches like Madonna, but I just think that... you know, I give him credit. You know, and hey, you know, if you're going to score a 10-8 round because you get a guy rocked, that means every time a guy gets rocked in a round, let's score a 10-8. And then you go back to the Oscar Valdez fight against Ruben Tamayo, and he gets a 10-8 round. Tamayo gets a 10-8 round when it was a combination punch, step on the foot, trip, you know, and it ends up going on the scorecards as 10-8. And that's a round that Oscar Valdez was winning up to that point. So it doesn't make sense. I'm all for having a rule. If a fighter goes down no matter what, 10-8, regardless of what. If you want to make it that rule and all the judges do it, fine. If you're going to make a rule that say, hey, when a fighter's in serious trouble and he doesn't go down, give him a 10-8. Fine, as long as all the judges do it. But they don't. You know, so it's a matter of opinion and preference. And in this case, you know, Harold thought it should have been a 10-8. You guys think it should have been a 10-8. I say, hey, the round was close, and Timothy Bradley didn't go down, and I give the round to Jessie Vargas, you know, 10-9. I don't know. That's how I did it on my scorecard. I had it 118-110 total.
I look at it like this. I look at the positioning of where they were. If they were in the center of the ring, I believe Timothy Bradley would have went down with one more punch, and I believe that Jessie Vargas would have landed one more punch, and it wouldn't have took a hard punch because Timothy, as I stated, was shook by lesser punches earlier in the fight when he was still fresh. The fact that they were so close to the ropes is what saved Timothy Bradley, in my opinion. You know, of course, that's just my opinion. We don't know what could have happened, and that is why when a fighter is severely hurt, not rocked. You know, there's a difference between rocked and severely hurt. Timothy Bradley was severely hurt, and this is, you know, the telltale of how hurt he really was. Look how mad he got when he was doing his post-fight interview. He started to become enraged. You know, he reminded me of like maybe a Floyd Mayweather afterwards when somebody asked a question that happened in the fight he didn't like, or like how Mike Tyson used to. Timothy Bradley just got so angry, and pounding his chest more or less, and see what I did there, and I did this, and, you know, pointing out all these things. You know, that lets you know right there his pride did not want to admit exactly how hurt he was. And just Timothy Bradley is not the fighter he once was. This whole attitude change of his, that he thinks he's a puncher. You're not a puncher. You are a great fighter coming up. If you convert back to what you used to be, you can regain that form. But right now, there's guys out there, Bill, looking. Every top welterweight that watched that fight tonight is looking at him as an easy target. The Chris Algieri that fought Amir Khan beats the Tim Bradley that fought tonight.
Hey, you know, it is nothing different. I mean, everybody thinks Timothy Bradley is nothing special. He's one of the most underrated fighters in the sport.
I've said on the show a million times, I was always a big fan of Timothy Bradley. It's this new Timothy Bradley I'm not a fan of.
Well, he got the win, and you say seriously hurt. Great. You know, well, I saw a guy that was moving around, and yeah, he was hurt. He didn't have his legs, but he was holding on. He was doing all the things you want a fighter to do. Seriously hurt means you can't defend yourself, you can't hold on, you're staggering around the ring. He was against the ropes, but he was holding on. He tried to put his hands up before the fight got stopped. So I mean, I don't know. It's all that's what I love about this sport. You know, it's subjective, but either way, even if he goes down, even because Vargas did land another right another right hand, a solid right hand. When after he rocked him, he did land another right. That's sent Timothy Bradley kind of, reeling a little bit, but he stayed on his feet. And even if he goes down, all he had to do was get up, to end the round. So even if he goes down, I think he gets up, and I think the outcome is the same, So it is what it is. If they have a rematch, they have a rematch. What's your quick thoughts on Oscar Valdez and his performance against Ruben Tamayo?
Another one I wasn't impressed with, as I stated the other day when you asked me, do you think this is a good fight for him? Will it show something? He should have dominated the fight. I said that Thursday. He should have dominated the fight, and he didn't. So it just shows that there's a lot of building left to do. He got the win. He did what he was supposed to do, and hopefully his camp does what they're supposed to do, and they fix the little flaws that happen in there. The little flaws that he showed in there tonight. This should have been a showcase fight for him, and it wasn't.
Well, he dominated the fight, Dax. He won every single round except for the one that he was supposedly dropped in. He landed more punches. He just couldn't take the kid. He couldn't take Tamayo out. I mean, it is what it is. You got to give him credit for having the chin and being a veteran to prevent himself from getting knocked out. But I think Oscar Valdez showed that he's definitely not ready for a world title, that he's still a work in progress, but he dominated every round. I don't know. I thought he was exciting to watch, to tell you the truth.
It was the bout itself. Yes, I agree 100%. But when I look at these fights, I look at them in two ways. One as a fan, and then one as I look at these guys, as I always talk about, what do I see coming from them in the future? And with I don't know what his corner was actually telling him in between rounds, but towards the end, when he had this under control, he should have just boxed smartly instead of trying to close the show. Like Andre Ward saying, got to give him credit, he's trying to close the show. There have been so many guys over the years, even well-established veterans, former champions, or guys who were current world champions at that time, who tried to close the show. They got caught with a big shot, and they got put to sleep. And if that's not something that they fix on this kid, that's what's going to happen when he steps up against somebody who's not a veteran fighter past his best days, who has a little bit more power. And when a guy is that young and something like that happens to them, we know boxing is more mental than it is physical, and that's something that can totally destroy their mentality and take away the confidence. As, like we said with Jessie Vargas, it was highly doubted he was going to get that stoppage, but, that's something that can bother him going into another fight. It's something that can just literally throw a young fighter off their game. Now, remember, there's been a lot of guys out there. Well, the one guy I always think about, 10 seconds, that robbery, that 10 seconds, Meldrick Taylor, irregardless of how much trouble he was, and Tim Bradley was nowhere near the trouble Meldrick Taylor was in, that 10 seconds, he was never the same fighter ever again. And Pat Russell, a mistake can happen. You know something, man? Just say I made a mistake. He sat there trying to justify it. I think he got madder than Tim Bradley did at the end when they asked Bradley if he was hurt, that somebody asked him if he made a mistake.
Well, it is what it is, and like I said, the right guy won, and we'll see what happens from there. But appreciate the call, my man.
All right, have a good night. Talk to you soon.
All right, Dax, take care. You can check out Dax's column up on BillyCBoxing.com. Any final thoughts on the fight? 845-228-8710. If you call in, we'll hang around. If not, we'll pack it in. I thought the Oscar Valdez against Ruben Tamayo fight was entertaining. Oscar Valdez is still a work in progress, even though he's extremely highly decorated amateur. Ruben Tamayo's been around, former world champion. This was a guy that definitely I would think Oscar Valdez learned from. But what I liked about this kid was his constant drive to try to finish the show and go for the knockout. He worked the body well. I just think that it's an example of maybe giving your fighter too less of opposition for too long. I think tonight they were looking for him to stop Tamayo and say that he stopped the former champion. Instead, he got 10 rounds of experience that I think is going to carry him. Nonetheless, featherweight to keep an eye on. Oscar Valdez now 16-0 with 14 knockouts. Ruben Tamayo 25-6-4 with 17 knockouts. I know he challenged for a title. I'm pretty sure he had a title once before, but if not, sorry, messed up. And as far as the main event, the 1001st fight on HBO, which incidentally, if you missed the beginning, they showed you some clips of all the great fights that were on HBO. It was, a little collage of fights was great. But Timothy Bradley fought an ugly fight against Jessie Vargas. Jessie Vargas was talking leading up to this fight how he felt that Eric Morales was going to help him immensely as his new trainer. He's been with him just about a month, and I didn't see any difference in Jessie Vargas that I've seen in all his past fights that I've ever watched, either live or on TV. The knock on him is the fact that he just doesn't throw enough punches. And I found it pretty amusing to hear Harold Letterman and Max Kellerman say the same thing, that he has been treated to some gift decisions, which he has. Some decisions that you would have thought he never would have got. And that's why, especially after that last round, everybody's scoring it at 10-8. I'm saying to myself, tell me that round is going to change it. But thankfully it didn't. 117-111, 116-112. And Kenny Bayless, making all the faces while he's judging, just the way he refs, scores at 115-112. They were all over the place, kind of, all within a round or two, which, makes sense. The fight was close. When you look at the punch stats, even though I don't use them as a guide, but as an afterthought, the numbers were fairly close, and I think that the judging represents that. Personally, I scored the fight 118-110. I gave 2 rounds to Vargas. I gave him the second round, and I gave him the final round. And the third round could have went his way as well. I felt that my man Harold Letterman was giving him some gift rounds. But anyway, that's my thoughts there. But not much else to talk about with the fight. What's next for Timothy Bradley? According to Timothy Bradley, he'll fight anybody, and that's what I like about this kid. He definitely didn't look good in terms of finesse tonight, but he got the job done. And this is a guy that's underappreciated and underrated, in my opinion. I think Timothy Bradley is a good fighter. He's a quality fighter, one of the tops in the division. And, like Jim Lampley said, if the political landscape in the sport of boxing wasn't the way it is, maybe we could see him fight some of these other fighters. But as it sits, we'll have to wait and see what's next for him. Just a little programming note. If you're new and you just stumbled across this stream, we do a live 2-hour-a-day boxing talk show. And we'll be back next week with this coming week with the holiday. We'll be back Tuesday. So check us out, www.billycboxing.com, or right here on the YouTube stream. Or if you're watching on Ustream on LDL TV, glad you guys could join us. Hey, the phone lines are dead. There's not that many people caring, jumping around. The big focus is on the referee, and I say, hey, he messed up. He did. It's going to affect my boxing on TV ratings, of course, but I don't think it changed the fight at all. Even if Timothy Bradley hit the deck in that round, he would have gotten up, I think. I don't even think he would have hit the deck. I think he would have survived the round on his feet, and I personally didn't score it a 10-8 round. Because a fighter's got to at least hit the canvas in my book to score at 10-8 round. But anyway, check out our website, www.billycboxing.com. Follow us on Twitter at TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing, and make sure you tune in on Tuesday evening 5 p.m. Eastern time. We are going to be doing some revolutionary experiment with this show, and you have to tune in on Tuesday to find out about that. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, and as usual, I have to tell you this. Don't forget to tune in Tuesday evening, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern time. Until then, ciao, baby.